The show where anything goes. Motivation, mindset, recovery, philosophy, and life. We become who we are through what we experience. We all have a story, and this is My Backstory with Josh Boyer.
There we are, man. Recording now. So I'm here with Travis Kennedy in Newport Beach, California. Super pumped. And it's, I was telling my wife the other day, I was like, man, I like traveling's cool and all, but it'd be kind of cool if I could find some people that are close to LA so I can kind of
absolutely
expand my network here and also, not have to travel like to the other side of the country to get awesome interviews. So I'm going to let Travis share his story with you guys. He's an ex-Navy SEAL. He actually just got out, April?
April 14th was my last day in the service.
Holy shit, man. That's crazy. Yeah. 13 years?
Yeah, about 13 years.
Awesome, man. So I'm gonna let Travis share his story with you, his backstory, what his upbringing was like, where he's from. I mean, I know that he's from Huntington Beach. I mean, you can even tell just by talking to him for about 5 seconds that he's probably from this area because he's super chill. It comes with the territory. So anyway, brother, take it away, man.
Yeah, hey, first off, thanks for having me,
for
Josh.
Sure.
Happy to be here, for sure. Always love getting together and talking about, my story and hearing about yours. But he just said, I grew up in Huntington Beach, born and raised. I was born and raised here, went to middle school here, and then junior high, and then high school, Huntington Beach High School. And then throughout high school is when I kind of got the bug to end of junior high, going into freshman year. I got the bug to be in the military.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to be. The military in general has kind of always intrigued me. Being a part of, I want to serve my country, being a part of something bigger than me. Yeah. I've always been team oriented, with sports, stuff like that, playing baseball growing up and then playing sports throughout high school. So I've always wanted to be part of the military. And to be honest with you, when I first kind of got the bug to be in the military, I was looking, what do I want to exactly do? I knew about SEALs, but barely. I knew they existed at that point, kind of freshman year. I thought about doing Naval Academy. My dad was like, hey, I want to do college.
Yeah.
Kind of the typical path. But I thought about that. Hey, Naval Academy, maybe I'll do fighter pilot because, that sounded pretty exciting to me.
Top Gun, dude.
Yeah. Top Gun was out. I was like all fired up, Maverick, all that shit. But it was good. However, that kind of dream faded quickly. The college thing, I didn't have the grades, to be honest with you. I was an okay student, not the greatest. Yeah. My focus was more like on sports and doing other things. I wasn't flunking or anything, but it wasn't Naval Academy, level for sure. Right. And that path, honestly, it didn't fire me up as much. But my dad was actually the one. I knew I wanted to be something elite in the military, not just kind of join. So my dad is actually the one who brought home one of those like pamphlets that just Navy SEALs. And back in the day this was like early 2000s, 2002, 2003. He's the one, he brought home those pamphlets. So not a lot of information out there back then, really kind of accessible if you do your own online search, but even the recruiters didn't really know too much about SEALs. But there was a pamphlet in the office. He brought it home and he's like, I think this is a good fit for you. And honestly, from there, that pretty much gave me the blessing, once you get kind of the go ahead from your father, like, hey, this might be up your alley. And that's when I got the bug for sure. And I just got super fired up with SEALs, just like basic, when I opened that pack, it was like, even just the pictures alone, I was like, okay, this is my style. The water aspect was what truly brought me on in the mission set of the SEALs. I thought it was a good fit. I grew up surfing, grew up in the water, living in Huntington Beach. I lived like a block away from the water,
awesome.
All throughout high school. I wasn't like surfing all the time, but I grew up surfing definitely in the water. Scuba diving, all that stuff. So that's what really kind of brought me towards the Navy, other than any other special forces unit. So once I got that bug, and then boom, that kind of snowballed from there. That fireball, started roaring, and I took it off, did all the research. I became, honestly, a lot of people ask me like, how'd you train? Where'd you get the motivation? Where'd you get that bug? And in the beginning, it was my father. And as soon as I researched more, I did my own kind of homework with it. That's when I became obsessed. And to me, when I tell guys, it's like, how'd you do it? It's like you need to become obsessed with accomplishing your goals, and that goes for everything in life too, not just becoming a SEAL. You really need to become obsessed with what you want to accomplish and do everything you can to make it happen. And I really did. Honestly, I changed my life even as a young age. You know, I joined the military when I was the summer of my senior year, so I was 17.
Oh shit.
My parents went in with me, signed off for me, you know, enlisting. Yeah. So I through the DEP program, it's like early program, and I joined. So all throughout high school, I trained, and I was obsessed with training SEALs. I bought the 12 weeks to Buds, Stu Smith's 12 weeks to Buds program. Followed that like religiously. That's still like one of the holy grails of like Buds prep. And honestly, I did that book through and through like 3-4 times, and I always recommend it to people, and it's awesome. But
I'm actually going to do a podcast with Stu.
Yeah.
We're thinking about linking up on the next time I'm out in the East Coast.
Yeah, that'd be awesome to hear.
Because I mean, that's kind of like the I think guys that are, how old are you? You're 30. You
31.
Have to be like 31. Yeah. So guys, I think anyone over 30 knows exactly who Stu Smith is. If you're from the military, and like you've definitely read one of his books at one time or another for sure.
Yeah, that was like an instant buy for me. And that like it laid it out easily for someone like me for exercise plan, and that committing to something like that really set the tone and build my mindset. You know, and then also I was a part of sports teams as well, going throughout high school, and I feel like that's obviously helped me as well. Kind of like that team camaraderie and stuff like that just set me up for success. My father's actually, living so close to the beach, I had access to the sand. I was very fortunate to be able to do beach runs right there. Family supported me. My dad bought me 24-hour fitness with the pool access 24 hours a day.
That's awesome.
All the diving, PADI dive certification. So I became like super comfortable in the water like at a very young age. Yeah. So all these little things, I had the blessing, of that support. Not many people have that, but to give me all the tools I need. And basically it was just on me. And I knew nothing was going to pretty much stop me to accomplish the goal. So I joined the Navy summer senior year, early program. I joined as a corpsman because back in the day you needed to pick a rate.
Oh, just in case you wash out, then you go to whatever that
exactly.
rate is. Okay. Do you go to A school first before you go to Buds?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I shipped out in 2006. Went to boot camp I had a corpsman rating with the SEAL kind of contract back then. Went to boot camp immediately following, went to core school, and that was like 11 weeks long. Did the dive motivator program there. And right after that, I went to Buds, July of 2007. Wow. So I started Buds class 266. Yep. Graduated with Buds class 267. I got rolled in post pool comp second phase for runs. Running was my weakness in Buds.
Oh, really?
For sure. Yeah.
Wow.
Looking back, people ask me, hey, was one thing you would have done more of? Running.
So if you get rolled in second phase, do you have to go through Hell Week again?
No. Okay. No.
So you're done with, once you're brown shirt, you're brown shirt?
Yeah, so second phase, you're done with first phase, post Hell Week, all that, you're a brown shirt in second phase.
Okay.
And I got rolled like post pool competency is like kind of one of the milestones in second phase. It's like all the diving, one of the diving tests.
Yeah.
So I post run, didn't pass my second 4 mile time run. I was hurting and I got rolled basically. Had a moment of weakness. Look back on it. I even look back on it now. It's like, I'm like, how did I even let that happen? But again, it's one of those things like even throughout Buds, it's like I don't care how good of an athlete you are or mentally strong you are, you're going to be challenged no matter what.
Right.
And running is definitely something I wish I did more of. I was more naturally water guy. So I was like, I swam. I was in the water way more than I was running. So obviously that I was like, I crushed swimming, and running was not like my A game.
For sure.
Yeah. So once I classed back up with 267 post second phase, I think that it was like a month. I was only like a month break between classes. That month of just like resting, recovering, and not being like crushed every day, like it changed me. I was able to heal, and I came back even stronger. Like I was a good runner.
Right.
I became a good runner again, and then third phase I was like a really good runner. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean,
did it help like being that you were so close to home, like being that you're just in Coronado and like you're from Huntington Beach? Do you think that like was better for your mindset, worse for your mindset? Like how would that help you, or was it a disadvantage?
Good for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and being so young at a young age, I was 19. I got there when I was 18. Was 19 when I was like throughout second phase, third phase, and being so close to home on weekends, post Hell Week, I would go home on the weekends and just chill at my dad's house, relax, kind of decompress. I had the luxury of my own vehicle. I went from high school. Not many guys live out of state. They don't have vehicles. So I had a vehicle we could use, and I would just literally just go home on the weekends, just relax, get out of the environment, and just eat, recover as much as I can. Yeah. And that definitely, honestly, helped me out a lot. And being at a young age, I didn't have the distraction of like I never went out. I wasn't even 21. Guys were going out like end of second phase, third phase, all that stuff, which is fine. But for someone like me looking back, I'm glad I didn't have that opportunity, like ability to go out and like party and drink and all that stuff, because that wouldn't have, I don't think that would set me up for success at all.
What do you think what's your thought process on guys that are going in at 17, 18 years old and going straight to buds? I mean, yeah, you go to your A school, but then you go straight to buds. Are you for it? Or do you think, looking back on it, do you think it would be better if maybe you had some fleet time before you got into buds? Or do you think it's like, it is what it is?
Yeah, honestly, it is what it is. Because I've seen both sides. I was obviously a buds student, but I was a buds instructor, and I've seen all full spectrum, guys that come from the fleet with experience, older guys that join the Navy later in their life, post-college, or even the young bucks that are just like 17, 18, don't know any better. There's no disadvantage as far as age group.
Okay.
That I've seen compared. Yeah, there's some like maybe with certain individuals there's some maturity level differences, obviously from 18 to like 25 or 28-year-old.
Yeah.
But honestly, we're all there. They're all there for the same reason. And the guys, I don't care how old you are, if you don't want it, you're immature, they're just gonna get weeded out very quickly. Right. And I tell people guys all the time, it's like, I don't care how old you are, it doesn't make a disadvantage. You can be 18, you can be 29, 20, 30 years old. Because I went through buds with a guy that was 30 years old.
Right.
So, and obviously there was 18-year-olds too, and they both did very well.
That's awesome. 30 years old. I couldn't imagine, man. 30.
I talk to guys now, they want to join, they're 28, 29, and I tell them like, you're going to be hurting a hell of a lot more than a guy's 18. But, again, it comes down to the mental game. Yeah. You could be a stud athlete. When I was an instructor, I saw D1 athletes, Olympians come through, and they don't do, those guys, some of them do well, some of them don't, because they just can't hack it mentally. And that, that's what I always push towards the people that I talk to. It's all about the mental game.
What kept you in the fight mentally? Like, cause I know, like, I can speak from my own experience. Like when I've been in like, I've never been in Hell Week, but like I've been in shitty situations where it's like, my mindset has always been like, I'd rather just die. I'd rather die than quit. So I'm just going to keep going.
Exactly.
What was it for you? Like when you were going through Hell Week and shit like that, like what kept you in it and not? Cause I mean, for me, like, I think the cold is always an equalizer for people. Like people hate being cold, So like hearing people share their stories about buds and then getting into that water and the surf torture and shit like that. It's like, I know if I quit, I don't have to go through that torture again. So what was it for you? What kept you in the fight?
Yeah, exactly. Water, you can be the toughest dude in the world. As soon as it gets you cold, then you're gonna break a little bit. I don't care how tough you are. And it could be dead of summer and they'll leave you longer. It could be 89 degrees outside. The water's still, and even if the water's warm, you're still gonna get cold. Right. It's gonna test you. But for me, it was the end game. It was what kept me going was the drive to become a Navy SEAL and do the job and serve my country in that aspect. And that's what I always kept in the back of my mind. And the thought of quitting, people ask me all the time, I can honestly say I've never thought about quitting one single time. And I know you've interviewed other SEALs, and you could ask, if you meet a SEAL, they'll tell you the exact same thing. They'll say, hey, I've never thought about quitting.
Right.
There's times, yes, I was tested physically, I was tired as hell, mentally tired, run down, but at the end of the day, I'd be laid up in my rack, like smoked beyond belief. But I never had the thought like, I'm going to walk out to that bell. I was so frightened to even go near that bell, let alone look at it. Right. It was just, I couldn't handle the thought of even going up there and humiliating myself or embarrassing myself, or, I just couldn't even deal with it mentally to kind of even think about ringing a bell, let alone even doing it. So.
Right. What about like, did seeing other people quit, seeing other people like ring the bell? Obviously, like if you're in a buds class together, I'm gonna assume that you get close to some of these people, and seeing some of those people quit, was that motivation for you, or are you like, fuck, like did it like kind of mess with you mentally?
honestly, I just brushed it off. I mean, prior to Hell Week, there's just so many dudes. Yeah, you get close to some.
Yeah.
Because you get little cliques. Because the class is over 100 guys, so it's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Guys just come and go. And honestly, like, I didn't pay attention to too much at all, looking back.
Yeah.
And it didn't mess with me mentally. It didn't be like, oh man, this guy's a stud. He quit. You know, what about me? I don't think I could hack it. This guy can't hack it. I can't hack it.
Right.
I never thought that way. It's kind of like I wake up the next day, they're gone, or you know, we may be in the middle of an evolution and they just peel off. They're just gone. You know,
Yeah.
and the mission needs to continue.
Yeah.
Just like with anything else. And that's kind of how, looking back, and that's how I dealt with it. And that's how most guys deal with it too.
Yeah.
Honestly, guys, especially that early in training, because that's when like the bulk of the students leave prior to the 4th week, prior to Hell Week. So, and you don't get too close to people. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
And you know, that early on in state.
That makes sense. I mean, I think for me, it would probably be, I mean, knowing myself, I think watching people quit would have probably motivated me.
Yeah.
Because I would have been like, another one bites the dust.
Right.
Here, I'm still going.
Yeah.
You're not breaking me. I'm still going. And part of me, like, I think every kid like grows up that you know, my stepdad was in the military, and so I grew up around it. And so you have this like, you idolize people like that are Navy SEALs. You idolize Special Forces guys, right? At least I did. And part of me has always wished that, like, dude, I just want to go through it just to see how far I can go. Just to see. So I try and do like other tests just to like push myself a little bit. Like, you know, having my 6 back surgery, I was like, I'm going to do it without any pain pills.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, okay, that's not Hell Week, but it is hell for sure.
Oh, it's hell.
And it sucks ass.
It's a different form of hell.
Right, for sure.
You gotta suffer in silence.
Definitely. Definitely. So when you were done with Buds, where did you go? Where did you get stationed?
Yeah, so I became a SEAL 08, and then I immediately, since I had the corpsman background, I went to 18 Delta Medical School.
Nice.
So I did the short course, they have 2 courses. They had the long course, short course. I did the short course, the Special Operations Combat Medic course. It was like a 6-month-long course in Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
And that's before you even get to your platoon?
That's before I got to the team. Immediately following SEAL qualification training, as soon as I get the trident, I shipped off to Fort Bragg. It's like a joint medical school. All
wow.
Special Forces go there. And because I had the medical background, they're like, hey, Kennedy, you're corpsman, you're going. Back, you know, even to this day, like, there's not many guys that are raising their hand like, I want to go to a year-long, 6-month to a year-long medical course after just becoming a Navy SEAL.
Right.
So the volunteers were far few in between, but that, I tell people all the time, that was the best training school I ever went to in the military. Hands down. I loved every single day of it because it was new, exciting, learn something new every single day, and being so young and being immersed in medicine like that is like kind of unreal. And it paid dividends, huge dividends for me in the platoon.
Nice.
You always need a medic, no matter what. Wherever you go overseas, you need a medic with you, regardless. So it did pay off. When I went on deployments, I was always on missions. I was always involved. So like, no one wants to be a medic until you need a medic, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like one of those skill sets, like who they kind of shrugged off until someone's like, hey, you're a medic. Hey, doc, come here, help me.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
But it was huge, man. I loved being a medic in the teams. And that was kind of like that was my job when I first showed up to SEAL Team 4.
Was anybody hating on you for being a Navy SEAL going over to 18 Delta, or is that common for
There's definitely like all those pissing contests with all the other units.
Yeah.
The Army did not like the Navy guys.
Really?
Yeah. We just didn't jive well. I mean, NSW and like we just have a different kind of attitude, I guess, personalities.
Right.
A lot of personality clash. SEALs, I feel like the NSW is Naval Social Warfare is more laid back than like other units, like Army SF, Marine Recon, some Air Force guys there. They're just more lax in the sense of not unprofessional by any means, but just like kind of personalities and how they conduct business. Yep. It's just different. You know, each branch has their own little flavor. So there's always gonna be those personality clashes. And there was only a few of us too. We had like 6, 7. There's like 6 SEALs and there's maybe like 5 SWIC guys.
Okay.
So in my class, so there's not many Navy guys. Mostly Army, SF, and Rangers.
Is it relaxed grooming standards where you're there? Or are you
no,
like? Oh, okay.
That was super strict. Army. We're mustering every morning, like 06, in ranks, uniform, doing PT together. Yeah. I mean, it was like gung-ho Army. In the Army now, for sure. Like, it was nothing like being on a SEAL team or anything like that. I mean, these guys, you're with, like, guys fresh out of boot camp, guys that never even been, like, Ranger school yet. You know, it's really straight. Schoolhouse.
That's like a training environment.
Exactly, training environment. Not a gentleman's course at all.
For sure.
Yeah.
And so when you got to your platoon at Team 4, did you, was it like a shock, you know? Like, oh, wow, this is what it's going to be like.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. I mean, when I showed up, I was so eager to get out of that medical course. They asked me if I wanted to stay for the year long, and I was like, you know, no. I was like, I need to go to the team because I was so eager to get to the team at that point. But showing up to the SEAL, my first team was SEAL Team 4. Showed up there in May of 2009 after I graduated the medical course. But yeah, I was super nervous. I was nervous as hell, excited, like motivated, ready to work my ass off. Like, I was a new guy. You know, I was ready to just keep my mouth shut and just train and prove myself I was worthy to even wear a trident, you know, amongst the older guys in there. That when I showed up there, not many people were there because they're overseas, just coming back off deployment. Yeah. These guys are coming fresh off, like, from Iraq. Right. Because I was assigned to one troop, which was CENTCOM. Okay. Which was Iraq and Middle East. Yeah. So I knew I was going in with some dudes that have seen some stuff. Yeah, they're seasoned. Yeah. They've been around the block. So it was like that stigma was already there for me. So I was like, okay, because not every troop goes overseas, over the Middle East. So I knew I had a little higher standard for sure.
Were you hazed pretty bad when you got there as FNG or what?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say like
you don't need to go into it.
Yeah,
if you don't want
I wouldn't. No, hazed. I mean, the standard new guy games. Right. Nothing like crazy, like getting beaten up or anything like that. But like on training trips, the typical like, hey, we're getting some good old boy time with the older guys for sure. Right. Getting some physical fitness beatings in there a little bit.
Can you share any of those stories? I mean, I don't know if any of that stuff is mystique and you don't want to. That's fine. But is there any stories that you can share that you think are pretty funny or that stick out to you the most?
One I thought was funny in assaults block. We go to Shaw's basically where we learn how to do combat pistol rifle shooting. Yeah. Then we do close quarters combat. It's in Walls, Mississippi. So the time we went there for 2 weeks, but this is our first trip. This is like the pinnacles of kind of the training, all the training blocks we do in the platoon prior to deployment is assaults. Okay. That's like the cool stuff that SEALs do, like running a gun and kicking indoors. That's what you want to do most of the time. So, but this was like our first trip. We went out there, we're staying in this house. There's 2 houses. All the new guys were in one. You got the older guys in some. But they come like middle of the night up there, and we're all racked up together in the top floor, like bunk beds. They come wake us up, trying to like hitting us, slapping us, trying to beat the shit out of us. They're a little hammered because they went out that night and they came home super late, drunk as shit. They wake us up, throw us, tell us to get in the pool. There's a pool right behind. I mean, keep in mind, it's like freezing cold in Mississippi. So we jump in the pool, like there's all these leaves in the bottom, like go ahead, freaking get down there, start cleaning the pool. We like doing duck dives, like grabbing all these leaves, like whatsoever. So we're doing that. They tell us to get out. We're starting to do like buddy drags. Next to the house is a bunch of pull-up bars. We're doing like a bunch of physical PT, like buddy drags, fucking games. They break out the like litters, Israeli litters, like for carrying patients. Yeah. Break out those things and like, all right, we team up. We start running down. Throw a guy on the litter. We all grab a handle. There's 4 handles. We start chasing the old guys in the Vic. They're like chasing us, like running inside, like putting out. We're super smoked. It's like we're racing each other because they're telling us like, hey, you put out, they're gonna pay. It's always pays to be a winner, right? Regardless, you'll hear that term in SEALs, but that never ends. I don't care. Even now, look back, even as an old guy, as a chief, like it pays to be a winner as a SEAL. Constantly, it's always a competition.
Dude, that's hilarious.
Yeah, and they're like, we're running inside their vehicle. They're like handing us beers, like, hey, drink this, like, like we're smashing beers, like running down the street, like dying, like super smoke drenched. It's like Bud's flashback again. Like we're just getting beat, like we're Bud students. Eventually comes to an end, like 2-3 hours later, like just completely smoked. They left us like. We ran like 5 miles down this road. There's this one road. It's a back country. Like we went down there, just left our asses out there and like, all right, get back. So we're like super sort of like, oh my God. That's hilarious. Like make this stuff like that is the things that I call like quote unquote hazing. I don't consider that really hazing. It was just like, that's like the bonding thing, but it was funny as hell and it was fun. And that's just like one little story. And there's every training trip, we've always did something, and more often than not, alcohol was involved, but it's all good fun. You know, like we all were drinking shit like that. But
I think that's the difference with people. Maybe people who played sports, like I would never consider the same with you. I wouldn't consider that hazing. It's like, it's part of like earning your stripes, paying your dues, whatever. But it seems like the newer generation, it's like, it's hazing. It's like, stop it, dude.
Too sensitive. Like, I'm not doing that. You don't have, listen to this. Don't have that attitude.
Right.
You know, participate, perform, show those older guys that you can crush them. They're gonna try to size you up and try to outdo you. Like the older guys will try to outdo you. Like, hey, we're doing the beating us. Like, all right, you want to beat me in pull-ups? Like, see if you can. You want to crush them. You're a new guy. You want to crush everything the older guys can do.
That's awesome.
Physically, performance-wise, like that should be your goal. On the range, all the shooting drills, out there doing PT, team PT. Like, if you don't think they're watching every single step that you do, you're wrong. You know, as you need to. My mentality when I was a new guy was like, I'm kicking all these dudes' asses. Like, I don't care in performance because it's gonna pay off. You know, not like to like an arrogant standpoint, but to like show my worth to these guys. Like, okay,
an asset.
Yeah, like, hey, Kennedy's he's a good shot, you know, or he's a beast, he's a fast runner, like, you know, he stays in shape. You know, they want to see that type of mentality from the dudes they're gonna be working with. You know what I mean?
Is there much like, you know, I know in the Air Force it was like very much, you know, there's the airmen, you know, and then there's the NCOs, senior NCOs. There's a lot of. Do you see that in the teams? I mean, if you're like an E4 and E5, does it really matter? Does rank really matter if you're part of the same platoon?
It doesn't. And that's the beauty of it. That's why it's like ingrained, and even in Buzz, like officers enlisted all mingled together on the kind of same playing field. And that translates even in the platoon as well.
Right.
E4s could go talk to the platoon commanders.
Because you guys are going on patrols and shit.
Right. We're all working together. It's all the same. Yeah, he may have some like lieutenant stripes, some bars on, but when you're in the platoon hut and you're working, you talk to each other man to man. And that's like one of the greatest things about the SEAL teams is like everyone's on the same page. Everyone respects each other because everyone's, even like officers, they all did the same thing. You know, they came same training, everything.
Yeah.
You know, they have the different hats they wear. You know, different jobs in the platoon, but at the end of the day, like you talk to each other like men. You respect, obviously, you're just like in the military, you respect the rank, respect the man. But I know it's way different than regular military when you're speaking to like an officer or even like a chief. Yeah. You know, in the Navy, it's like night and day difference from like E3, E4 talking to a chief. And the SEAL teams, like when I was a chief, guys at E5 used to talk to me like. I talk to them like they're my boys, they're my teammates. You know, it doesn't matter if I'm an E7 or E8 or you know he's an E4. It has no bearing on how I speak to him or how we do business. You know?
When do you lose the FNG? Like, when do you lose the fucking new guy?
I say after the first deployment.
Yeah. Because I think that's all like part of the deal. It's like, okay, like I know like with firefighters still do it, you know, which is cool. They have like a year of probation. It's like. You don't get to watch TV. You don't get to do shit.
After the first deployment, you're no longer FNG. You've done a full, complete training workup, done a full deployment, and you completed all that. Not like you did half of it, come home early. Like, if you've done everything, completed all the training blocks, did the full 6 to 8 month deployment, whatever it is, you're no longer considered FNG. But having one pump under your belt doesn't mean necessarily that you're an old guy with experience either. You're just not a new nug with like zero experience. I would say not until after your second pump. That's when you could consider yourself an older guy in the team for sure.
Were you married when you were over there?
No, never been married, never had kids throughout the team. I was married to my job. Unfortunately, I was obsessed with my job, and it just consumed my life. But I never took the leap on the marriage.
Do you have any regrets where that's concerned, or you're like, nah, it was better for me for the time?
At the time, look, a little bit maybe now, because I did a lot of sacrificing in my personal life, with other relationships too, because I would put, you know, I've had other girlfriends and stuff like that, but when I was a SEAL, I wouldn't put them on the top of my priorities. I would blow that kind of aspect off of my life sometimes, and really make work my 100% focus, especially when I was a new SEAL, hands down. Like I was so focused on just like working, work, performing, work trip. Yeah, learning. It's like I didn't even think about getting married because I was always gone. Yeah. Two, I always thought about like that's gonna suck for. I had girlfriends and it sucked for them me being gone, you know, let alone a wife. Right. I couldn't imagine having kids. You know, I've really admire the dudes that have like wife and kids and they're all gone, and it's difficult, and I understand that it's work for both sides, wife and the guy too. But yeah, I just never took the leap to do it.
What's the lifestyle, would you say, of being a Navy SEAL? Can you explain that a little bit? I mean, I know you weren't married, but like I'm sure you can speak from a married man's perspective because you watched it with your teammates and shit like that. So what's the lifestyle like?
I like to say, I hear people say this, but it's like the rock star lifestyle, you know, you just, for lack of a better term, because constantly on the road with the boys, you know, you training hard, going out, partying hard, you know, it's kind of like a vicious cycle, you know. As soon as you're back, you know, you're done with pro dev. Pro dev is like professional development. It's kind of individual schools. It's kind of a relaxed time prior to your actual team training, your ULT training. Yeah. And once you get on that kind of cycle, you're just on the road constantly. 2 weeks here, 1 week here, 3 weeks here, you know, maybe 4 weeks here. So it's, when you're on the road, it's like 100% focused on work, you know. And when you're out there on the weekends, then it's like going out with the boys and getting after it, you know, stuff that you don't see on TV. Right. but it's all necessary, and it's all part of being a SEAL too, and bonding as teammates. But that being said, when you're on the road, back at home life gets thrown down and lower on the totem pole, so to speak. It's like, hey, lower priority. Yeah, that they are high priority, but when you're on the road, the platoon and the team expect you to be, you know, your team and platoon, that's your family. You know, to me, that's my family. That was my family, and the guys I know, my friends still, they are my family. That's how close you become with these guys, especially your own platoon. Yeah. You know, and when people say family come first, like your team comes first and your platoon comes first. And that was my mentality. Even like going through BUD/S, they ingrained it, and I live my life to this day too. It's like, and I tell people, it's like team, teammate, self. And that's how I live my life. It's like team comes first, then your teammate, and then you're last. Then you deal with your own personal issues at the end of the day, right? You know, if you have time. And that translates to anything in, you know, in civilian life, your company and then your employees, and then you kind of deal with your own issues after that. So that was ingrained in me when I was going through BUD/S, and I ingrained in my older, you know, young guys when I was kind of mentoring my guys. Is that's kind of mentality you need to have to be successful in the SEAL teams. So that's what makes the SEAL teams, you know, successful, because it is a team, right? You know, it's team comes first. Absolutely. And sometimes sacrifices that have to be made, you know?
Yeah, because I think the marriage rate or divorce rate in the teams is like,
it's pretty high.
It's in the 90s, like 90 like percentile.
It's pretty high. It's like, I don't even know like the actual statistic, but I know it's high. Yeah. I mean, most of my friends I know, they have divorced too, so it's like, it's not uncommon at all. It's just a difficult lifestyle, man. It's like, I couldn't imagine that. That's what scared me kind of a little bit. I was like, I don't even want to deal with that.
For sure. I mean, I saw like my buddy that was in the teams, and he was telling me, I asked him like why he didn't have kids, and he's like, you know, man, like I want to be a dad, not just a father. Right. And I was like, man, that's pretty respectable, because like a lot of guys, like they feel like they're missing out, you know, if it's like they see other people having kids and whatever. It's like, that's, you know, society tells you what you're supposed to do. But it's like, man, these guys are gone all the time. He's like, man, like last year I think it was like 300 days. Yeah,
you're pushing 300 days throughout once you start that ULT training. That's a year. That's insane. It is insane. And I had the same mentality for, you know, looking at the marriage aspect for women. I was like, it's just so unfair to like do that, because I hated it. Yeah. I hated being on the road and doing long distance relationships with girls that when I was dating them, when I was a SEAL. Yeah. My girlfriend, that like serious girlfriends I had, I was like, I hated it. And I could see other guys that were like new SEALs and like been to SEALs, they're on the road, you know, they didn't like it as well. They were struggling too. And the guys that work for me are married too. There's like, you know, stressing out, wife stressed them out, kids stressing. So it's like that's what made me nervous, because I didn't want to do that to someone else. I didn't want to. So I avoided it pretty much. I didn't even bring it up. I didn't even hint at it to like. Right. But looking back, I don't regret it at all. Definitely, I don't regret that. Now that I'm in a different place in my life, and it is something I'm looking. Obviously, I want to do that in my life.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
what do you did you see a difference in like the transition from like when you got into the teams and what the teams are now? Has there been a drastic change in the mindset? Has there been a drastic change in the the way you guys take care of business? Is there any differences as far as?
I say the guys coming in, definitely kind of like that new generation of guys coming into the teams.
Yeah.
Is a little, you can notice them, just personalities, kind of mindset, where they're coming from, what motivates them to be a Navy SEAL. These guys really want to do the job, or they just kind of like see all this Hollywood kind of glitz and glam on the internet and social media and stuff like that. So there's definitely, from when I joined to like right before I left, like kind of like that middle generation, late 2000s to like just the past couple of years, you can see a difference. But then again, it's not, a lot of guys say like, oh, these guys are like weaker mindset, blah, blah, blah. But like, the caliber of guys that coming in are still high caliber.
Right.
And I think a hell of a lot smarter too, to be honest with you, especially nowadays, all information, more educated.
Yeah.
They bring a lot more to the table with skill set, with technology and stuff like that. So, and especially because I noticed this when I was like an LPO and a chief, like my younger guys, like they taught me things I didn't even know how to do. I would always learn something from them. So it's not, the guys that I've seen, it's not a negative. It's a positive from,
that's good.
Guys coming in.
I think we're missing I think what a lot of people, like the older guys, I'll be 38 this year. And so I look at guys like that I, played football with and I grew up with and stuff like that. And there was like a grittiness to those guys.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you can just put your nose to the ground, just like, you can just go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, stop complaining, just go. And it seems like the younger generation, even talking to guys that I was in the military with that are still in, like when I was in, it was like, you get in trouble for some shit, like fighting, drinking, whatever the case may be. You could get in trouble. They could like hammer you, Article 15s and whatever. But for the most part, it was usually just a counseling session.
Yeah, it's handled at the lowest level.
Yeah. Or a smoke session. And it's like, now it's
That's
like everything's
changed.
Paperwork, everything's politics, everything's like, and I think we've lost like a little bit of that from what I've heard from guys that are still in. It's like we lost a little bit of that grittiness.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that is definitely the case for sure. That is, even our community, it's all about, hey, guys don't like, get that paperwork, get that counseling statement. Right. It's like I was like you, I was like growing up, it's like we just handle it in the back of the mill van. It's like you mess up, it's like, all right, come with me, we're gonna take care of business. And then we're gonna go, then you're good. It's like, we're not going to send you out and write a counseling shit, send you up to the CEO and get hammered, demoted to captain of VAS, all this stuff. It's like we that kind of touch has been lost in the Navy. I know, at least in the SEAL teams a little bit. I've noticed sometimes we like to eat our own, but I hate to say that, but it's like
it seems like
sometimes it happens and it sucks. But I feel like we could go about handling. SEALs. They're not perfect, right. And I think that goes across the board, military in general.
Yep.
And, even the spec op community, like you expect guys to do difficult jobs and then you expect them to be choir boys at the same time. It's not going to happen.
Yep.
Even in professional and personal life. So
you're living the rock star life and they expect you to be like church boys. And it's
exactly.
Like,
it's not happening. Yeah. It's not happening. So, and then when the guys do mess up, it's like, let's crush them. Yeah. It's like, no, let's not crush them, because that's when I was a leader. I was like, no, he messed up, I'm going to talk to him. Right. And if it's like really egregious, like with a criminal act, then that's a difference. You got to weigh kind of where it's coming from too. Exactly. It's like, if he just like a minor offense, we're not going to crush him and like take his rank from him if it's something minor. Right. Back in the day, my older guys are like, we joke about it, but all like the Master Chiefs, E9s, assault E9s, like a couple DUIs, and then like they got slapped on the wrist, like, hey, don't do that again. It's like, dude, nowadays you get a DUI, you're done. You're kicked out.
Yeah.
It's like you're kicked out of the Navy. You're not wearing a trident anymore.
Right.
So that's pretty scary. But
the thing that I think the scariest part about it, in my opinion, is that okay, yeah, DUIs are bad. And you're putting a lot of other people's lives at risk with your poor decision. And with the use of Uber and Lyft, there's really no reason to drive drunk anymore. Let's get that out there. But I think where the military fails across the board, just in my opinion, is that they promote drinking. They promote carrying on and being out with your boys. Yeah. And they need guys that are in the bars being straight pipe hitters and ripping people's ears off and, wreaking havoc. Those are the guys they need downrange, kicking indoors, doing the shit that we need to do for America, right? Well, with that being said, I feel like there's this, go out there and have fun and be fucking crazy and drink and shit. But if you get in any trouble, it's all over for you. I had a buddy that I was stationed with that was an E8, man. Like he was a senior master sergeant and he was in the Army first, came over to the Air Force, and he got busted for drinking on a golf course, taking like a little turf roller for a ride for a little bit. I mean, he took it like, I don't even know, it was a couple yards and then put it back. Everyone was laughing and he's hammered, Put it back, didn't hurt anybody, no harm, no foul. He was cussing and carrying on because he's drunk. Dude, they took a stripe for that shit.
That's
took
crazy.
A stripe for that. I mean, you have to go to it. Like, I don't remember what rank it was, but it has to be like, I think a 3-star general, 2-star general or above that needs to make that call based on his rank as a senior NCO. Right. And they pulled a stripe because he was drunk on a golf course. And it's like, granted, it was his problem. It was his bad decision. But the punishment did not fit the crime where that's concerned. This guy is a guy who like has been downrange multiple times.
Performance.
And a great leader and all this. And it's like, okay, so he got fucked up. And you're gonna
Are we entitled to having one mistake? Yeah.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, and maybe he had multiple mistakes while he was in the military, but it's not like I feel like that's kind of the
because that's a career ender for him.
Yeah, and exactly. He retired right after that. It's like he's never going to make rank. He'll never make chief. So it's like he's out. And now he retires as an E7 versus an E8, and that's like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars that he's missing out on his paycheck. And it's like for the rest of his life. And I just think it sends a bad message. It's like, okay, cool. Like let the boys be boys. And the other thing is they're not really giving guys all the tools to decompress. It's like you expect them to go down range, see some things, smell some things, hear some things, and do some things that most people will never, ever experience. And then they come back home and it's like, hey, now, like you said, like be choir boys, and it's like, what the fuck, man?
It's not happening. I know it's like a lot of things you don't see they advertise online, but it's like, you expect guys to do crazy jobs.
Right.
They gotta be a little crazy themselves,
Right.
And that's in a good way, but no, just regular Joe Blow is gonna be doing stuff overseas that especially Uncle Sam expects you to do. You know.
How did you decompress when you got home from like deployment, seeing some of the things you saw and doing some of the things you did? How did you come home and kind of like decompress and just okay, that's over, moving on, getting back to real life?
I got back. I try to get back in the groove as fast as I can. Just being home.
Yeah.
We do like our own little decompression stops, so to speak, like a 2-day kind of weekend trip. We did a couple times.
Like in Germany on the way back?
We stopped in Germany, and then we also did Ocean City, Maryland for like a weekend. And that was kind of a drag. I think it was worse than Germany because it's like 2 hours away from Virginia Beach, and we're stuck in Ocean City, Maryland.
Oh, wow.
Talking with doctors. But it was cool, though. I mean, we got to hang out. We all hung out together, same thing, like we're going out and drinking and stuff like that. But once I actually got home, so like Virginia Beach, I immediately tried to fall right back into a good routine. And just kind of, I relaxed, because I wasn't working, we're on leave. And, that's the most important is just like, throughout my career, I never dwelled on a lot of things that I may have done, seen, etc. overseas or throughout training or my career. It's like that's why I tell people, it's like you start dwelling on things and constantly let that cloud your mind. It's gonna mess you up. So I'll definitely distract you. For me, I found relief in routine, and physical fitness. Like for me, having that daily routine with the gym. Eating right, because physical fitness is such a huge part of my life. So I'm a huge advocate with it, and I truly believe that it's made me like as resilient as I am today. Because people ask you that question, or I meet people here because not a lot of military in this town, so they always assume that I may have PTSD or something like that because I've been downrange a couple of times, or so that stigma is out there. And like, how do you deal with it? You okay? Do you have problems? Like, my own family, not my immediate family, but like aunts and uncles and cousins, like, you okay? And I'm like, I'm perfectly fine. It's like not everyone has PTSD. Not everyone has issues that have been over there. people deal with things in their own way. You know, for me, it was routine. It was getting back in a routine in life, you know, not dwelling on the past, looking ahead. I'm a goal setter too. Like I like to look ahead, learn new things, and like not, like I said, dwell on the past. I like to reflect on the past, but not dwell on the things that I've may have done or seen, or that I think that's, you know, that kind of would scar me or something like that. But
what's the hardest part for you? What was the hardest part for you of being a Navy SEAL?
I would say time away. Yeah. The constant, I liked it in the beginning, and then towards the end of my career, just like the on the go constantly, trip after trip, being gone for deployment. Like I like deployment, but towards the end of my career, it was like, it just became a drag on me personally.
Right.
You know, just because I joined at such an early age.
Yeah.
That's all I knew.
That's where you cut your teeth, man.
Yeah. It's like, that's all I knew, been doing like the whole adult life. Like, and I came to a point at the end of my career, I was like, this is just like running me down a little bit.
Right.
I didn't look forward to traveling, never looked forward to going on trips.
Right.
Didn't look forward to going on deployment.
Yeah.
Like personally, like I would do it, you know, go out there and perform and crush, but deep down, it was like, you know, like I want to go. I'm tired. Yeah. Like I'm tired, you know, it's like I'm tired of doing this. I want to, you know, do other things. So it's like that, the being away aspect it took a toll on me.
Yeah.
And not so much like the physical aspect of like being a SEAL. Yeah, it's physically demanding, but I could handle. It was just more kind of, I guess, like maybe a little bit emotional / being gone, kind of how that affects you emotionally and personally too. When you're making the sacrifices I made in my personal life is what kind of got to me.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure your parents too are probably like, man, like they don't even know if you're like what your deal is because you're gone all the time. You know?
I mean,
you probably couldn't talk to them or whatever.
Yeah. I lived on the East, most of my career, majority of my career is East Coast. All my family lives out here.
Right.
I'm from West Coast. So yeah, never really coming home. Like barely visited. I'd visit like once a year, maybe.
Yeah.
Sometimes I would go longer, and would maybe come home, only see my dad, and a year later maybe see my mom. Yeah. But like, yeah, that just takes a toll on people, and it takes a toll on me. Like again, personal life goals, like trying to settle down, you know,
for sure, grow
up a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's just like military was everything, and that's who I was.
Yeah.
So, and I don't like to like put a label on myself like Travis Kennedy's only Navy SEAL. You know, it's like that's what is a part of my life. It's part of who I am, but it's not everything I am.
Dude, thank you for saying that, man. There's a lot of people, and it's not just in the SEAL community or just in the military community, just in life in general. You know, you do things that may be important for a certain time of your life. You may have a career, you may have a title, you may be a Navy SEAL, you may be a Green Beret, whatever. It's like that's all. It's like you can't rest on your laurels, man.
No.
It's like, what are you doing now?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing now to like move on? Like that was a chapter of your life. Now let's move on.
The last thing I want to be is like the old dude vet sitting at the bar, like talking about what I used to do.
War stories and shit.
It's like that was a huge part of my life. Definitely made me the man I am today.
Yep.
And I love it. It's like looking back, but it's not everything. It's not all Travis, you know. Now it's time to move on.
Yeah, it's easy to get stuck there. I think like I know for me, like you know, having all the back surgeries and whatnot, like I used to reminisce a lot about like, oh man, when I was in the military, when I was in high school, I was this big, strong guy, fit body, blah, blah. And I just can't do the things I used to do. And so I spent, for a while, I was spending a lot of time like in that headspace of like, fuck, man, you remember when?
Right.
You know? And
it
finally, I just snapped out of it. It was like, that's not who I am anymore, man, at all. So what I actually did, I mean, this is a little extreme, but I had a box like full of like all kinds of like fucking
memorabilia,
pictures, letters, like everything like that I had saved since high school. I had all this shit in there. And so I had a fire pit in the backyard. I threw that shit all in the fire and burned all of it. And there was there was a reason for it though. It was kind of like, for me, it was like cathartic, and it was like a message to myself, like a symbol to myself of like, that's not me anymore. That's not who I am. Like I have the memories that I need in my mind. You know what I mean? I don't need to hold on to a bunch of like love letters and pictures. Because at the end of the day, like when I die, like my kids aren't going to want to read a love letter from me and some other random chick. You know what I mean? It's not their mom. They're not going to care. You know what I mean? Like,
that's funny you say that. I have stuff like that too. I'm like, oh,
yeah. So like,
delete. Like, why do I have this?
Right. And so like, I knew that like there was going to come a time where like I just need to throw that away, because it had gone with me like from the military to every house I ever lived in. That box just followed me everywhere. And I just, for me, like, I'm holding on to this shit, and for what?
Yeah.
You know, like, for what? Like, it was a part of my life. It was cool. Like, I have some great memories, but moving on. So, like, when I went through the box, I mean, I kept some things like from my grandmother and things like that, because those were important to me. But all the other stuff, like just random ass pictures and stuff, it's like, even dumb stuff. I have a picture like of the side of a mountain. You're like, oh, remember when I was in, Wales or whatever? It's like the side of a mountain. Like, no one's gonna know what the fuck that is. You know what I mean? Like, I know what it is because I took the picture, but it's ridiculous.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, so when you got when you knew that you were going to be getting out of the Navy and you were going to be leaving the teams, first off, like, why did you not decide to stay in for 20 years?
Yeah. The last 2 years of my career is when I really knew it was time for me to go. And that's because, again, going back to like personal life, like traveling, just the job was kind of taking a toll on me mentally, not so much physically, but mentally. And I was like, I knew it was time for a change for me personally. And I wanted to pursue other things in life, other goals. And that's what drove me to not stay. And the military, in general, is very structured. So I knew where my life was going to be the next 5 to 10 years. I was pushing 13 years right when I got out. I knew exactly where I was going the next 5 years. I was going right back to a team, do the exact same thing, do another deployment. I was going to come back, make rank, because I left as an E7. Okay. And so I knew, obviously the next rank, I knew I could look at my boss, next officer, I was like, I want to be doing that job. Not that job is not important, but I didn't like what the next 5 to 10 years of my life was going to look like. At least 7 years if I only did 20. Yeah. But you can't do 20 on the dot. It's like you're going to do a little over 20.
Right.
But I just didn't, looking ahead in my life, I was like, that's not where I want to be. So.
Did you do a cost benefit analysis? Like, okay, if I stay in, this is how much like I can bank on, like I'm going to get this much money like for the rest of my life, and then I can start another job. And like, did you do that analysis, or it was kind of like, I need to be done? No. So do you regret it? Like, do you regret it a little bit? Like not just waiting it out for 7 more years?
No, I don't. Nice. Right now in my life, like especially now being out so early, looking back, I don't regret making the decision at all. I'm in a better place.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Because I think a lot of guys, like, they get, I mean, obviously, like, from the outside looking in, I see guys that get out, like with you, it's like you're at 13 years, like, dude, you're so fucking close.
I know. People ask me all the time.
It's like, you're 7 years, bro, to like being done. And I mean,
7 years is a long time.
It is a long time in that community. But like when you look on the outside in the civilian world, it's like, I look 7 years and I was like, fuck, dude, it's already been 7 years. Like goes by so fast. But I can only imagine like being away from home and, 300 days out of the year, like, that's got to be a grueling 7 years.
It is exactly. And I left. I was at a training command, and I was in charge of running a certain training block. And I was gone the same amount of time as I was at the team. I was like every other month taking 3-week trips. I basically lived in Louisville, Kentucky.
Right. That's not a place I'd want to live.
Just driving back there every other month, driving to and from there. It's like that. It takes a toll even on to the strongest of minds, like especially if you're doing this job as long as I have. It's like, but that wasn't like, oh my God, this job sucks, I want to get out. It's like looking ahead, because I'm always like, I'm a planner. I like to look ahead, like my life, like 5 years, 10 years, like where am I going to be? And am I going to be happy doing it? For me in my life, what's important for me is being happy.
Yeah.
So looking ahead, I was like, I don't think I'm going to be happy doing that. I know I'm not, because I'm not really happy right now. So I need to get out and do something else. And yeah, people say like, why can't you just wait it out? It's like, trust me, being in my, it's easy to armchair quarterback everything. Like, look, Absolutely. Like you could have just stayed in. Why don't you just stay in for what? Just to collect a check? It's like, I wasn't too worried about the money. Honestly, I never even thought like me losing BAH or a special pay wasn't like enough for me to be, oh my God, I need to stay in.
Yeah.
But guys that I know that do want to get out, that have families and kids, that's a whole nother the game to consider. And I totally understand that mindset coming from, because now you're putting a lot of other things on the line.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Someone like me, single, no wife, no kids, it's easy for me to uplift and move and change pretty quickly. And I did very quickly. But I had a plan though. I was like, I've been thinking about this for like 2 years, and I knew I always eventually wanted to come back here and start a life here close to family. Yep. But I didn't know I was going to start a company. Really? I'll tell you that much. I always had like a secret obsession with like businesses, reading books, stock market. had like a secret thing. I always used to like read books and study it all the time.
Right.
Learn entrepreneurship, just here and there. Not really scheming up ideas of starting my own company, but just kind of like reading about it, studying about it because I knew it was important.
So what did you? So go into that. How did you start your company?
It's funny. Like I moved here. I moved here like I started terminal leave like March 5th.
Yeah.
And I moved out here like mid-March. Stayed out here honestly with the intentions of not even staying out here. I was going to stay out here for like a month, kind of to spend time with my father, my mom, and just kind of go from there. And then I thought about just moving back to VB and then
really
maybe do contracting. All these things were popping in my head, or go back to school. But when I came back here, I went to the range out here in Corona where I teach now. But I went with my father and some of his friends. We went like a group, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll go shoot with you guys." And while I was out there, I habitually just started instructing them, like teaching them, because I've been teaching people how to shoot firearms throughout my whole career. Guys, other nations. That's a big part of what SEALs do is like they do FID, foreign internal defense. And you guys don't know what that is, but basically you're training other special forces units on how to operate with you, i.e. shoot, CQC, because you're not going out the door by yourself half the time. You always have other guys with you. So training was kind of inbred in me at an early age. And I honestly, when I was a BUDS instructor is when I grew a passion for teaching. And that's why the backbone of why I started this company now. But after that day, I went to the range. Literally that night, I'm like scheming up with my father, because my dad has his own company too. He's had it for over 20 years. He's a wedding photographer, but he's an inspiration to me with being an entrepreneur and like a businessman and all that stuff like that. So he's like, why don't you start something of your own? Because I was going back and forth. Like I was getting other jobs. I applied for other jobs here. Actually, I was getting involved with another shooting company, but I was like, at the end of the day, I was sitting back like, why am I going to invest all my personal time in other people's businesses? And I was like, I could just start my own private shooting company. And like that night, me and him conspired the name of the company. And when I heard, right when we came up with Kennedy Defensive Shooting, it was like, boom, like that. It instantly like a big slap in my face. I was like, this is it. And like that night I bought the domain name, started the website. That's awesome, and like, man. Then every day I was just like one step at a time in starting a company. Everything you need to do as far as starting a company, I made it happen. And then to me now, like I couldn't see myself doing anything else. I don't want to work for anyone else. I really don't. I want to,
worst.
like doing what I just did for the past 13 years and now having something of my own is like night and day. It's nice and something I could really focus 100% of my energy into. And it's exciting too, because honestly, I don't really know much about business. I know some about business. I don't know everything. And it's a constantly learning, developing, doing new things. And kind of the ultimate goal now in my life is to take all the experience I have as a SEAL and give back to people.
That's awesome.
That's what I want to do. I want to teach people, educate them, make them better individuals, whether it's shooting or anything. Obviously my company is about shooting and firearms training, but people walk away more confident, personally. They're not better self-esteem because, they learn a new skill, they step out of their comfort zone. I work with guys too, like on the flip side of another side of the business, as like mentoring, where I work with guys who want to be Navy SEALs or guys who just want to join the military in general, because I feel like nowadays we don't have enough people who want to join the military.
It's true.
Or who are unable to join the military because they're just not qualified nowadays. Yeah. I read some statistics like over 60% of our nation is not even qualified to join the military. And it's like crazy. It's like blows my mind. Yep. Not to say that everyone needs to join the military, but it's like, those who do are not qualified and they're like sitting back wondering why. I'm like, well, because you've been messing up your entire life. But I help guys get on the right path and change people's lives for the better. Whether it's because I work with guys that just want to get in shape or want to accomplish a goal in their life, and I just guide them on the right path. And that's what I want to do for people now.
That's awesome, man. Did you do you train primarily out of Corona? Are you doing traveling training? Or are you just doing, is that your home base?
I travel. Local home base is the range I use. It's in Corona. Yeah. Obviously I'm based out of Costa Mesa, but then I also travel to other states too to do training for groups or one-on-ones. I could do that as well. Like I'm going in July, I'm going to North Carolina to teach a group of guys, 10 guys.
Nice.
So I do offer that, and I obviously train police officers as well, so that's kind of another aspect I do it. I haven't trained in the military yet.
No,
I haven't gotten to that realm. I'm not sure if I want to or not. I don't know if I want my company to go that way, to be honest with you. I want it to be, right now it's just private firearms instruction, small, one-on-one or small groups up to 4. You all have to know each other if it's a group. I never hodgepodge people together. It's not like a weekend warrior class, like get 20 dudes out here, we'll do basic pistols. Like, no. I want it like up to 4. So that way, because right now it's just me, and I want the people who are paying for my basically instruction to get full instruction, get the most bang for their buck. And it's not fair if I bring in 15, 20 unknowns that don't know each other and try to teach everybody.
Yeah.
Just, you can't do it.
Yeah, no, it's
For
hard.
one, it's hard to get across to people, and another side is safety concern for myself. That's, people don't really worry about that. But as far as like the teaching education purposes, it's just hard to do that. That's why I like to keep things small, more niche.
For sure.
But
did you start a LLC? Are you doing sole proprietor?
started with a sole, then I just switched over to LLC.
Did you?
Yeah, single person LLC.
Yeah, that's the reason I asked is because when I started the podcast, I started an LLC, and in California you got to pay $800 a year for the LLC, and it's like, if you're not really making like any profit, like it really doesn't make sense to like be paying $800 a year for what?
Right.
You're not really doing much yet. So the reason I asked that is because it's like, is it better, you think, for someone who's coming out, like starting a business, to start sole proprietor?
It depends on what the business is. And I think, considering mine, I have a lot at stake with weapons.
Oh, yeah. Liabilities.
So I think it depends on the business. Like maybe a podcast, be a sole proprietor, better fit.
Yeah.
Not much liability. There could be a lot of liability on my hands. It's just me. I'm a sole proponent LLC. It's just one person. Yep. But as far, because with like insurance and stuff like that, when I give them firearms, I'm training with firearms, so it's a dangerous kind of business. So it's good for protecting your company and yourself too.
What's the prerequisites for someone who wants to come out and train with you?
None. Just have the desire to learn and be motivated to learn, firearms. And you don't even, I do all spectrums. I've trained all spectrums. Someone who's never even touched a firearm, owned a firearm, to obviously really experienced. So, and I welcome everybody. And the backbone of my company isn't, hey, we're going to do some high speed shooting. That's all I teach. No, it's like, I want to teach people fundamentals and safety of proper firearms usage. That's an education with firearms. Make them understand the responsibility. If you own a gun, the responsibility of owning that gun, especially if you're licensed to own that gun. Yep. So that's like the main purpose of my company. Yeah, I teach advanced stuff, tactical shooting and stuff like that to certain individuals, but I welcome all skill levels.
How do people sign up for a class? How do they reach you?
Guys can reach me through my website, kennedydefensiveshooting.com. There's forms you can fill out. My cell phone and my email's on there. You can contact me through there. My Facebook page, Kennedy Defensive Shooting, and then Instagram, Travis Kennedy 267 is another place a lot of people find me, and I put a lot of my content on my Instagram and Facebook.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you a couple questions, man, that I ask everyone that comes on here. First one being, if you had one person or one book that inspired you the most while you were coming up, whether through the teams or just through life, who would that person be, or what would that book be, and why?
The book, Tony Robbins. I like that guy.
Tony Robbins
Awaken the Giant Within.
Oh yeah, man.
Huge book, but very inspiring as far as I know it's kind of like a self-help book. People say that, but it's really inspiring to me. Like the things because I blow myself away, things you can accomplish with the decisions you make and your mindset. He's big on the mindset and how you reshape your beliefs, the way you think, your decision making, and it can really change your life for the better. And after I read that book, it opened my eyes in a way that it gives you a different perspective,
right?
Honestly, on life. I'm
glad you said that, because I was talking to somebody else the other day how when I was in the military, I felt like I was in a fucking bubble, dude.
Yeah.
I was stuck in this bubble.
Well, exactly. It's all you know.
And it wasn't that I was stupid. I was just ignorant to what was out there.
Right.
If you would have asked me who Tony Robbins was when I was in the military, I would have had no clue. I would have not even known what you were talking about.
I agree.
And like I said, it wasn't a stupid thing. It was an ignorance thing. I just didn't know. You don't know what you don't know. And I feel like the military in general kind of gets put in that bubble where like, dude, I didn't know what music was coming out. I didn't know what was like nothing.
Your
like
life is surrounded that. Yeah, that's all it is.
And so it's cool. I'm glad that you said that because there are so many cool people and things, and people like, some people talk shit like, oh, it's self-help, it's all, whatever. But dude, it helps a lot of people, man. A lot of people.
Yeah, it's so much. I became past like year or two, I became a big reader.
Yeah.
I was never a reader. I used to hate reading.
Right.
Now I love reading, and it's like so much knowledge out there, especially with individuals that have that type of experience. Like, take it on board. It's not like you're like some depressed individual that you need some self-help book. Take everything you can and apply it to your own life. You don't have to take everything he says, but there's certain things like in that book, not everything applied to my life. I didn't need everything he said in there, but there's some things that really resonate. Opened my eyes to the world. That's why I tell people to travel too. I traveled at such a young age. My father, blessed me with taking me on trips around the world. Like, we live in a huge world.
Yep.
Like, get out there and see it.
Most people never leave their hometown.
Exactly.
It's like, Huntington Beach is a beautiful place.
Exactly.
When I live there, it's like, I wouldn't be disappointed if I never left. But no, I agree with that, man. Like, traveling, like I didn't travel much when I was younger. We moved from place to place, like Texas, California, and then back here. And then I went to the military pretty early on at 18 or 19, and then was stationed in England. But the more I traveled when I was in Europe, it like opened my eyes to so many different things, and I tried to keep an open mind while I was there, even in the military. Because you have guys that are in the military just straight Neanderthals, you know what I mean? Like,
oh, yeah.
Assholes, they go and travel and just make a fool of themselves. For me, like, when I was in Scotland, it's like, I want to try haggis. It sounds disgusting, but it's like, it's the local cuisine, and I want to try
the culture.
Yeah, for sure. And the same thing with England. Like, they're not known for their cuisine, but it's like, I wanted to try what's the local beer, what's the local food, and just experience everything there is to experience. Like, because why wouldn't you?
Exactly. I think the
totally,
same way, man.
Is there a person that inspired you the most, like growing up or through your career?
My father, hands down. He's the one who inspired me to be Navy SEAL. He's the one who brought me that pamphlet and gave me that bug, that itch. Yep. And then even throughout life, like even to this day, like with my business. So,
was he military?
Nope.
So what was his drive for you to go to the military? Was he just a patriotic dude that loves his country and like was like, I want you to serve? Or were you kind of like on that path where he's like, I kind of need to redirect you?
I was on that path. Yeah. And my dad's always been a supporter. He's about whatever I wanted to do, he'll support it. Didn't matter. Right. He didn't like push me in a direction where he thought was best fit for me. It was like, you want to do this, Travis? Okay, now, but you're going to do it in the best way that possibly can. You ain't just going to do half-ass this and just go this way. So you're going to do it the best way. But he's definitely been a huge motivator and an inspiration in my life, even to this day. So
it's so cool, man.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's kind of the anomaly because like you see most people that I've come in contact with from the military usually come from broken homes that are like, and it's not the best of circumstances, like whatever. But when you have a family behind you that's supporting everything you're doing, it makes it that much easier to get through some of the hard shit.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And I hate to hear it when people say like, my family don't support me. I hear it all the time from guys that ask me questions about what do I do? Like, my family doesn't help me. It's like, it sucks to hear, and it's hard for me to even relate because I can't, because I've never been there. But my best advice is just educate them. You got to explain, it's at the end of the day, like you need to do your part about just talking with the people that you care about. And I truly believe that if they care about you and love you, at the end of the day, they're going to support you. Yeah. No matter what decision you make in life, they're going to support you because they're family.
Yeah. So. If you had one lesson that you could teach, the younger Travis or just younger people in general that are coming up through life, that you wish you would have learned younger so you didn't have to experience some heartache, what would that lesson be and why?
Lesson I would like to learn.
Or a lesson that you'd like to teach someone. Like maybe you went through some shit and you're like, oh man, like let me save somebody the heartache of having to experience the same thing and, share this lesson with them. What would that be?
I'd say definitely being young in the military, especially as a young SEAL, is like, this bit me in the back, bit me in the butt a little bit. It was just opening my mouth too much and just not, maybe like talking back a little bit, being a little arrogant in the beginning. Yeah. And not have as much humility as I should have, I guess, when I was at a younger age. Yep. I would definitely, that's what I instilled in my younger, new guys, was like, hey, be humble. Even, I don't even care how senior you think you are. Doesn't matter. Always be humble, have humility, because one occasion when I was a new guy, I definitely opened my mouth when I shouldn't have, and I paid for it. So, and looking back, I wish I didn't.
Yeah.
So, definitely have humility.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're, even to this day, like, who cares if you're a Navy SEAL?
Right.
Don't think you're better than anybody. Just like, and sometimes we fall in that trap of like, we're the alpha, like we're badass, like we're better than everybody. I see it all the time, but people will see right through that, and people respect the guys that are like humble, quiet. They're just to themselves. Like, you don't need to tell people you're a Navy SEAL. Trust me, they're gonna know, or because they're gonna ask about you. Like, who's that guy? He seems really cool. Like, he's quiet. Like, what's he do? And they'll find out regardless. But
right.
Have humility.
That's awesome, man. Because I think in that community, it's probably even harder. Because of like the egos, and because of the just dude, like you went through a lot of shit to become what you are, and there's a lot of pride where that's concerned. And I could see that being like kind of difficult, to have humility at certain points. It
is difficult, especially when you become more senior in the community. It's difficult. So
for sure. I think the other issue too, like that I wish was more common is, or that I wish wasn't as common, is like the way that the military eats its own. Not just in that community, just across the board, right? Where it's like, in my, like if I had a dream or a hope or a desire for like what's going on currently, is that the veteran community would just support one another. Instead of breaking each other down, instead of like, like, oh, let me try to discredit this guy somehow, some way. It's like,
right.
Dude, build each other up, man. Help each other out, And you made a good point too earlier about not everyone comes back with PTSD. So like, just because I was downrange doesn't mean I have PTSD.
Yeah.
But I think that it's a good thing that people are asking, because I think back in the day, nobody asked.
No, yeah.
And then nobody talked about it, and people just had to suffer in silence, So I think there's some good to it.
Yeah, because it definitely brings more help nowadays to the guys that do have it, because
sure.
people are more educated and savvy on it. To say like supporting veterans, like now being out, I'm a veteran, is like, I love seeing veterans like succeed and like crush like veterans out doing their own, especially have their own companies.
Yep.
They're out there getting after it, grinding, working their asses off hard. It's like, I love seeing other dudes succeed. All my friends like who are out, that have been out, they're crushing it. They have their own companies, and that motivates me to perform and do better, and to want to do better, and like always reach out to them like, hey dude, like good job, you're crushing, you're motivating individuals, like you impact people's lives, like not just mine, but like people all over the world. That's like, if we like active duty see other, like for instance spec op guys, veterans, do not try to bring them down, because we should be supporting them, because they're making huge impacts on vets.
Yep.
All my veteran people have their own companies, like they help veterans, they help other people do in the community, but they're bringing vets up, they're bringing them up, like support system, and that's what it's about. That's what it should be about.
Right.
Not bringing people down. It's like we should be supporting them and like helping them in any way, shape, or form that we can.
Yeah, it should be a huge fraternity, in my opinion.
Exactly.
Because like you've all experienced some of the same stuff in one way, shape, or form. You've been through some of the same things, and it's like, so you understand each other. You have some relatability. It's like, so help each other out, man.
Yeah.
You may know something that I don't. Like, tell me what my blind spot is. Let me know, man.
Yeah.
Like building each other up.
Yeah, that's like, I have friends that, I don't care if you're a SEAL or what branch you did in the military. Like my closest friend, I have some close friends that are ex-former Marines. Like they're just in Downey, California, and they just support so many veterans in the whole LA County community. It's like great. I go up and visit them, and it's, vet is a vet is a vet. Doesn't matter what you did in the military. Just everyone needs to be, like you said, supporting each other, like a fraternity.
Yep.
We all served our country. We all need to look out for each other, man.
All right. There's gonna be some turds out there, that are veterans. And that's just life.
How it is.
That's just life, and those people need to be weeded out, definitely.
But people spot that quick,
right? But I think that there's, for the most part, there's a lot of veterans out there that are really doing a lot of good. And instead of like bringing that person down for doing the good that he's doing to make yourself feel better about it, it's like, build each other up, man.
Right.
Help each other out, and do what you can, man, to make it make the community even stronger. If you knew for certain that you were gonna die next week, what would you want to be remembered for? Like, what would be like your legacy, would you say? Or
definitely.
would you want your legacy to be?
Definitely remembered by someone who changed people's lives for the better. I like helps them get on a path of success, and not just remember me by like, hey, he's a cool Navy SEAL. It's more like, no, that Travis changed my life. Like with goals, with anything in life, whether that be military or just personal, but definitely if someone were to like see me like Travis, yeah, he not only was a SEAL, but he made my life for the better. Just his presence, what he did for me. We just talked to him once.
Right.
That's how I want to be remembered, as someone who added value to other people's lives.
What's your passion? Did you say it's helping people?
Yeah. Helping me, teaching, mentoring. Like that's my passion now in life for sure.
It's fucking good shit, man.
Yeah.
I love it. If there's anything that I can ever do, like for you to help you out, promote you in any way, like I live here, dude. So like, now that and that's the other thing too, is like with California, it's so tough because we don't get a lot of like trainers out here that often, like in Southern California.
I know.
I mean, you'll see some in Northern California, Central California, but like it's rare that you get a lot of training opportunities down here as far as firearms are concerned. So it's awesome to see somebody from the community. It's like, you have your company now starting out. I'll definitely be over there taking a class, no doubt.
That'll be awesome, man.
For sure. I appreciate you coming on, brother. Big time. And I
love it. I appreciate having me, man. This is, again, I love doing things like this, especially someone for like yourself. So it's all been fun and great. And I love talking to, like, hearing both sides of the story too, yours and just talking about mine. So
for sure, brother. If you guys are digging this podcast, if you could, please do me a favor, go to iTunes, subscribe, rate it. It helps a lot. YouTube as well. So this will be on YouTube. We're streaming live to Facebook, and so it'll be there as well. But it definitely helps. And if you guys have any recommendations that you want to throw my way that you think I should talk to, holler. I'd love to sit down.
So, reach out, message.
That's right. Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you, man.
No, thank you, man. I appreciate you. You're welcome.
All right, brother.
Thank you for listening to My Backstory. Stay motivated and stay connected off the show. Follow at my_backstory_ to be a part of the journey to recovery and to see where your story goes. Or visit us online at hereismybackstory.com.